Hello. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a video that's a bit different today. This is a Resident Evil game tier list. Lots of fun. Let me just bring it up. There we go. As you can see, there's S, A, B, C, D, E, F tier. Oh. I don't know why that's there. I'll put these in order, and it's all been messed up for some reason. Well, we'll just roll with it. I'll try and do them in order as well. Maybe like the main line and then the extra games. So if we stupid adverts. If we start out with Resident Evil 0. Now, is it the best? Probably not. Oh my god, emails. Is it the best Resident Evil game? No. Does it have its issues? Yes. But I think it's a decent title. I like Rebecca as a character. I think she's a strong character, but she has her vulnerabilities. Billy, I can kind of give or take Billy. I'm not really a giant Billy Cohen fan, but I believe that he does have his merit as a character. I like the whole switching between the characters and using the analog sticks to move the separate characters, and the fact you can swap inventory and stuff. There are a lot of people that say that the fact that there isn't an item box really puts them off the game, which I don't understand. It doesn't bother me that much. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to get rid of these adverts. Stop seeing this ad. Yeah, I don't see a massive issue with it, because where you drop stuff, you can find it on the map where you've dropped it. Obviously, you have to track back, but Resident Evil games, there's a lot of backtracking, so I don't get what people's problems with it are. But I think the story's okay. It's nothing to write home about, and the kind of shoehorning Wesker in. I didn't think that he needed to be in that one, because he's the main antagonist in the first game, so I don't know why he needed to be in Zero so much. He could have pushed it onto someone else. Obviously, I love Wesker as a character. He's a fantastic character, but yeah. So for that, I would probably put it in the B tier. I think A would be too high and C and below is a bit too low, because there are games that are worse than it. But we'll get to those ones. Some of them, if I haven't played them, I'd probably go by reputation alone. But I've pretty much played them all, so hopefully there won't be too many that I'm looking at going, well, I haven't played you. I haven't included, just for a carry, I haven't included like the multiplayer ones. I think they're just a standalone thing, like off on their own. There's no story to them, you know what I mean? So I haven't really included them. And the one that you got with Resident Evil 3 Remake, I haven't even played that, so let's carry on, and we go to Resident Evil 1, the original. Now, a lot of people look back and go, oh, the tank controls, oh, I can't play the game, oh, this and that, but it is the thing that kicks off survival horror, let's face it. Without that game, I don't think you certainly don't have Silent Hill, the psychological horror side of it, because literally Konami made Silent Hill as a response to the popularity of Capcom's Resident Evil. It was kind of a bit of a rivalry, which I feel like obviously Resident Evil has carried on, and Silent Hill's kind of slowly died a death, though it is coming back with a remake, but we're not talking about Silent Hill. But yeah, it's the first game that really put it on the map. the the story is simple and to the point. The voice acting is awful, but it's awful in a good way, like the Jill Sandwich line, or the Master of Unlocking, or my personal favourite when you go to open the front doors and Wesker says don't open that door, and it's just the delivery of it is just, it's terrible. But I did read that the people that do the voice acting, I think it was like people's family and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how true that is and whether I've got that wrong, so don't quote me on it, but it kind of makes me laugh that they just got, oh, do you want to voice a character in this game we're making? But the characters, you got Chris and Jill, they're kind of the standard characters throughout the whole series, really. I think they're the ones that have made the most appearances. Apart from maybe Claire. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, I feel like the first one is a classic, and I can't put it any lower than A. It's not quite S tier because I feel there are other games that are better than it, but I think it's the basis for which the series should be measured because it is a fantastic game. Then we move on to the Resident Evil remake. Now, this is my wife's favourite game. She absolutely loves this game, and for me, if you are going to do a remake of a game, that is it's the gold standard. I don't think a game remake has ever been done better than that. They added extra bits into it as well, extra puzzles, extra enemies, characters and stuff, but they kept the essence of the original. Obviously, pretty much the same story. You've got Chris and Jill again. They've updated the character models. They've updated like the backgrounds and stuff, like the static backgrounds. Some of them are just superb, and it's a really good looking game. And I just feel like it, as I said, it's the gold standard of which Resident Evil should be judged upon. I wouldn't touch it again. I don't think it needs a remake in the style of RE2, RE3, Village, those type of gameplay. There's people that say, oh yeah, but it'd be great to see it in that, but it's perfect the way it is. It doesn't need another remake. People can pick that game up and play it, and it's just as impressive as games that are released nowadays. And I don't get the fascination with, but we need to make it in line with the new remakes. You don't need to. It's perfect. It's perfect the way it is, and the fact that it's perfect the way it is means it's in S tier. As I said, I think it's the best remake of a game that I've ever seen or played, and I just think it's perfect, so I don't think it needs messing with. Just leave it as it is, and people will be happy, hopefully. Next up, we'll go to Resident Evil 2, the original. Claire is my favourite character in the whole series. I absolutely love Claire. I think she's great. Leon, I can give or take. It's another one of those games, like, there are very few games that are set in Raccoon City, which I think is an untapped goldmine. This one is pretty much set in the entirety in Raccoon City, mainly in the police station. I like the way the police station looks. I like the addition of the lickers. I prefer the lickers to the hunters, because I feel like with the hunters they can like one hit kill you and stuff like that. With the lickers, they're blind, so there's a bit of strategy behind. You can like creep past them and stuff like that. Obviously they can like leap at you and tear you to shreds, but I think the Lickers are a great addition. The addition of Mr. X, who he doesn't show up as much as I thought he would. Like with Claire, I don't think he shows up in Claire's campaign at all. I think he's Leon's. And then obviously with this one came the addition of side characters, but side characters that actually you actually interacted with more. Like in the original, you only really have Richard, where you give him the serum, and that's it. You see Forrest and he dies straight away. Then Forrest is already dead. Then there's Enrico, who you speak to a bit, and then he dies. And obviously, apart from Wesker, they don't really flesh the characters out much. Like you don't play as Barry, you don't play as Rebecca. Rebecca's just there in the save room, and then she helps with the piano with Chris and stuff. She don't really do much else. But at least this, like, you got to play as Ada for a bit. You got to play as Sherry for a bit. Okay, it weren't much, but it was just it kind of gave you a breather from Leon and Claire, and it kind of was like a buffer. Yeah, I think the story's pretty solid. I like the Resident Evil 2 story. You know, like you've got like Chief Irons, who's like a secondary antagonist as well, and then obviously the main thing is William Birkin, and I just like the design of Birkin as well. Like, I prefer the original Tyrant, but I feel like with Birkin, they did a good job with replacing the Tyrant. Obviously you got Mr. X, who is technically a tyrant, but I don't know. He just doesn't really do as much as Birkin. I feel like you actually have big battles with Birkin, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty good game. I would happily put it in the B tier next to Resident Evil 0. I was considering A tier, but I just don't think it's good as the original. I mean, obviously this is all my personal opinion, so you know, take it with a pinch of salt. And then we move on to the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I couldn't say better things about it. I love the game. I think it's brilliant. It is perfect. I like the redesigns of Claire and Leon. I think they're updated, but they don't stray too far from what the original characters look like. I think the story's brilliant. The fact that the addition of Mr. X, but not only the addition of Mr. X, but he actually stalks you properly this time around. You know, he follows you places and he can just show up at any time. But he's not like one of these stalk games where the stalker's like literally just like it's drawn to you. Like there's a string between you and it just follows you wherever you go. And I need to do this puzzle in this certain place. Oh, look, the stalker's there. There are a lot of games that do that took from the survival horror genre. And I just feel they're too much. But this is like, it's perfectly balanced. I don't like the way Claire's so reliant on Leon. Like, she's like, oh, where's Leon? What's Leon doing? Oh, I've got to find Leon and stuff. But she still is her own character. She's still a badass. And yeah, Leon, he's written well as well. I can't really compare. I like the safe room bit in the middle of the police station where you have like Marvin hanging around and you get to interact with Marvin, and you've got your good old puzzles. Again, I think it's a remake done well. They looked at 2 and they thought, how can we make the same game as good as it, but improve on it slightly? And flesh it out and completely rehaul the whole system and stuff. Like, obviously, you get the Ada and Sherry bits again, which they're not like out of this world, but they're an improvement on the originals. The William Birkin fights, I like the William Birkin fights, apart from the one with the where you're on that platform and you've got to press the button and the big container comes around. I think that's just a bit, it's a bit like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But yeah, I think it's a perfect remake. So that is going next to Resident Evil Remake. Then we move on, and now we've got Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I really like Nemesis. I've just realised RE3 Remake isn't on here. Right, let me just pause, and I should be back in a second. And hello, I am back. Because I'd sorted it all out yesterday in order, and I'd added, because it didn't have Village, it didn't have 4 Remake, and it didn't have 3 Remake, and I sorted them all out, and it's just kind of reset it all for some reason. I've only just noticed. I also put them in order while I was away, so, but it was a seamless cut, so you probably won't even notice that I'd stopped. But right, RE3 Nemesis. Nemesis is a great character, great addition. He's going after the STARS members. His more random encounters, but they're set random encounters. Like, he shows up at certain times and stalks you for a bit. I think that was a great addition. Going back to Jill as well. Like, obviously they had one, Chris and Jill, then they had 2, Claire and Leon, and then they could have made another new character, but instead they went back to Jill, and I like the design of Jill. I like the fact that you start out, and things are just going to pot, and then you've got to work your way through and basically get out of Raccoon City. I like the fact that there's a new antagonist as well, because it gets to a point where they start rehashing villains, not like fully, but mostly. And at least with this one, you have it's Nikolai, isn't it? I think Nikolai's the Russian bloke who's basically the antagonist in this one. And then you got the addition of Carlos, who you get to play as Carlos for a tiny bit. The story, I think the story's good. Like, it's basically, we need to get out of here, we need to survive. Obviously, it's back in Raccoon City. It is set, I think it's set during RE2 as well. I think it's kind of like you've got the beginning of RE2, then RE3, and then you've got the end of RE3, and like 2's kind of sandwiched in the middle. But yeah, I like the redesigns they do of Nemesis as he gets hurt more and more and more. Story, as I said, story's great. The set backdrops and stuff. Again, I think it's kind of, there's one more, but it's kind of where the end of tank controls starts. I like tank controls. I think they're alright. Are they frustrating? Yeah, but so are others. Like, you get games like Assassin's Creed where you try and run up a wall and you want to jump right and he jumps back and kills himself, and it's there's always issues with controls. They're never 100%, and I think people give tank controls a bad rap, but I like tank controls. I very much enjoy them. It's not quite as good as 1, and I would hint that it isn't as good as 2 either. And for that, I am going to put it C, because I just feel like I like the idea and the concept of it, but I just don't think it's as good as the others. But I do like it more than 0. What if I put 0 that side and 3 can slot in the middle in the B tier? So it's kind of like B plus, B, B minus. I think that's fair. Then we move on to the Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, a lot of people say, oh, it's DLC, it was a cash grab. I do think that they took more time with 2 remake, and they didn't take very long with 3 remake. People were moaning about, oh, they took out the clock tower, and they took out this, and they took out that. Yeah, they did take a few bits out, and they probably could have, even if it was like a 10-15 minute section. But I think they just wanted to capitalise on the popularity of the 2 remake, and they just put 3 remake out there. The redesign of Nemesis, people slated it weren't that bad. It doesn't look as good as the original Nemesis, but it isn't as bad. I like the redesign of Jill. I mean, if anything, I think she looks younger than she does in the originals. I like the actress who plays her. I think she does they do a brilliant job of capturing her. I really like the redesign. The redesign of Carlos, I'm not a big fan of, but I can deal with it. I like Carlos's section in the hospital as well. A lot of people complain that the bit at the end of the hospital where all the enemies are coming and you've got to hold them off. They feel like it's just shoehorned in to prolong the game running time. I can see where they're coming from, but I like a good old standoff. Like, I don't like them and I like them at the same time. I don't like them because it's like, oh, you don't know how long you've got to survive, and you've just got to be there, and you've got to shoot all these enemies, and then on the other hand, it's like they're fun because it's what survival horror is. It's like you've got enemies coming at you, and you've got to survive, and you've got to keep an eye on the windows and shooting the enemies as they come in. Then you've got to keep an eye on making sure they don't, tear the door down and get into Jill because she's incapacitated at the time. And then the only thing I don't like is where the back door opens and the hunter comes out. The hunter just throws in a new element. I think it's just slightly too much. Like, I'm already like gunning down zombies and turn around and there's a zombie behind me, you know what I mean? I did it not long ago, and I tried to do just pistol only, and for the best part of it I did quite well, but that bit I did kind of have to fudge a bit, because it's one of them, it's like I still wanted to have fun and I stopped having fun, so just to get through that bit. I like the lab as well. I think the lab is better than in the original. I enjoy that part, like going through and you've got to make the virus yourself and stuff. I hate them the naked zombies, the white zombies. They do my head in. You just have to run around them. The final boss against Nemesis is a bit lackluster, I must say, and I don't think you're in Raccoon City too much, which is a bit disappointing. Or in the police station, I feel like they could have prolonged that bit out a bit. But overall, I think it's a very good game. I enjoy it. A lot of people complain about it, and the one thing that always gets me is it's too short. I've seen videos where people have done 2 remake in 50 minutes. Resident Evil games, there's a massive speedrunning community. So lengthwise, it's like, yeah, you can't you can't you can't judge them together, because you can't say, oh well, the game's too short. Yeah, but if you're speedrunning it and you've got all the upgrades and stuff, it's going to be a quick game. I don't really think any. A lot of the Resident Evil games aren't long games. It's just how they're built. I like 3 Remake as well, so I'm putting it in A tier next to the original. Wow, I've been talking for 25 minutes and I've done 7 games, so maybe time to kick it up a notch, because otherwise I'll be here like 2 hours. But obviously, when we get to like the back end, some of them I haven't got much to say. Code Veronica, you know what? I'm leaving Code Veronica for last because I want to talk about that one the most. Resident Evil 4. Good game, yes. Best game in the series? No. One of the best games ever? No. Not in my humble opinion. Like, as I said, like, I enjoy it as a game. It's a good game, but I'm just not sold into it. Like, me, I like more proper horror, and this just kind of like it's in the daytime, and you know there's too many like just big open maps where you've got to go through and pick people off and stuff like that. I'm just not enamoured with it like other people are. As I said, it's a good game. Like Leon returns, you've got Ada return. You know, I can't even remember the story that well. Is it the Ganados? I think so. And like this one, this one loves the set pieces where you've got enemies coming at you and you've got to pick them all off. There's the first bit where before the bell rings. Then you've got the one in the house with Louise, and then I think there's kind of one where there's the two sisters with the chainsaws, and you're trapped in that bottom bit, and you've got to like kill them and kill everything, and like it's a good game. Don't get me wrong, and I do enjoy playing it. It's just not one that I constantly go to. That I sit back and go, you know what, I want to play Resident Evil 4. Yeah, so for that reason, I'm sticking it in the B tier. And obviously people say, oh, it's an S tier game. Like, obviously people might have their own opinions. If you want to comment your opinion and tell me I'm wrong and you're right and 4's the greatest game ever, then you're welcome to it, but I'm not that into it. And then we move on to 4 Remake. Now, 4 Remake, it does the same job as 2 and 3 in my opinion. It updates it. It brings it more in line with like today's graphics and gameplay and stuff. I haven't completed it yet. I know. But I enjoy it. I think it's easier than the original, because obviously the original you have to stand still and aim. At least this you can kind of run and gun a bit. I think it looks amazing. I think I can't fault that they've made the game look better. Obviously the story's pretty similar. You know, a few changes, but nothing too extreme. Sorry about that. There's a slight jump cut there. As I was saying about Resident Evil 4. yeah, I do like it. I think it looks great. The story's there. I think it's a really good remake. I'm just not a massive fan of 4. And in that case, I am going to put Resident Evil 4. I don't know if I think it's better than that one. I think it's better than 0. I think I'm going to put it here, sandwiched in between 2 and 3. Because as I said, it is a good game and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just not a big Resident Evil 4 fan. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Since I have been rambling on for half an hour and I've only got to 4 remake, I'm going to do this in 3 parts. What I'm going to do is, obviously we've gone up to 4 remake, and then I'm going to do 5, 6, 7 and 8 as part 2 to finish the mainline series, and then I'm going to do the rest. And as I said, I'm leaving Code Veronica to last because I've got a lot to say about it, and I want to make sure that I give it its proper due. As you can probably tell, it's my personal favourite, so that's why I'm kind of leaving it till last. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this, then subscribe, like, comment, tell me what I've done wrong and what I've done right, and obviously hit the notification bell as well, because then you will know when the other 2 parts are uploaded. So thank you for watching. I shall catch you guys again next time. Have a good day, have a good afternoon, have a good evening, or have a good night. And I shall see you in part 2.